Hey there YouTube, welcome back to my channel Wood and Stuff with another fantastic idea. Today I have a real treat. My 12-year-old son does his first brake job by himself. Hey, just a quick heads up before we dive in. If you haven't already, please consider liking and subscribing to my channel and help me get to 1,000 subscribers. Also, I've included links to all the products and tools featured in this video in the description below. Check them out if you're interested, and hey, thanks in advance for all your support. So my son is going to change brakes on a 2019 Honda Accord. We're going to do the rotors and brake pads. And in order to do that, we're going to need a few tools. Here's the list. Penetrating lubricant. We're going to need a brass hammer, along with a stainless steel brush. We're going to use an impact wrench with a 19mm deep socket and a 1/2-inch ratchet wrench with a 14mm and 17mm socket, a number 3 Phillips screwdriver. We're going to need some anti-seize lubricant, a 5-inch C-clamp with a scrap piece of wood, and a 3-ton floor jack to make things easy. A few things to prepare before we get started. Oh, and there's my son raring to go. Two things. First, we're going to take the top off your brake reservoir to release the pressure inside of the brake system. Make more sense later. The next thing is safety. You want to make sure that when you lift your car is not going to roll. So place a hefty block of wood in the rear tire. Now once you have the block of wood in place, you're going to go ahead and grab your 2-ton jack, and you're going to get your boy to go ahead and start jacking up that car. Hopefully your son isn't wearing these handsome set of Crocs that mine is wearing right now as he's working on this vehicle. Anyway, you want to go ahead and jack up that car about 2 inches off the deck, and then we'll go to the next step. Now you're going to go ahead and get your impact wrench, and you're going to start removing lug nuts from your tires. Now my son has never worked one before. He didn't do too bad of a job. However, you can see what he's doing here, and he's just removing the lug nuts and throwing them on the floor. That is very, very bad practice because you will not have them when you need them to put your tire back on. So let's instruct these youngsters properly. You want to collect those lug nuts. In this case, I placed them in the case for the impact wrench to keep them safe. Now when you go to remove the tire, it may be stuck. All you're going to do is hit the tire right where I marked the X on this video. Kick it real nice and hard, and boom, that tire is going to come right off, making it easy to remove and set to the side so we can move on to the next step. Now my son's going to attempt to remove the caliper. He's going to do that by removing the caliper mounting bolts. There's one up on top there, and then there's another one here at the bottom. And you're going to do that with a 14mm wrench or socket wrench. In this case we used a wrench, but you can use either or. Next we're going to go ahead and remove the caliper itself and place it on top so you don't damage the hydraulic hose. Then remove the brake pads, one on either side of the rotor. And then you're going to go ahead and remove the brake caliper bracket by removing the 2 bolts on top and the bottom using a 17mm socket or wrench. Once the bolts are removed, the caliper bracket is going to come right off. Just set it to the ground for the next step. Let's go ahead and remove the rotor retaining screw by spraying some penetration oil. Spray generously and let it sit for a minute. Then you're going to take a number 3 Phillips screwdriver and pound the hell out of that screw until the threads break free of the rust and unscrew it. But don't drop it like this, like my son did. Then the rotor, with a little wiggling, will come right off like this. And then you're going to go ahead and brush off the lug screws while you have the opportunity. Then install the new rotor, but not like this. I don't know what my boy was thinking. Then go ahead and put in the rotor the right way, but make sure you align the retaining screw hole with the tapered hole on the rotor. And then it should just push right in like that. Then apply some Loctite anti-seize on all threads before you get going again. The anti-seize will make it a lot easier the next time you have to remove these screws or bolts when you change the brakes and rotors next time. And that's it for this part. Let's move on to the next. Now we're going to work in reverse. We're going to go ahead and reinstall the rotor retaining bracket. And you're going to do that by reinstalling the bolts on the top and the bottom of the bracket as you see here. Now once the bracket is back in place, you're going to go ahead and install the brake pads. Now make sure you know what direction you're putting this in, unlike my boy here who's having a little bit of difficulty. But once you get it lined up correctly, it'll go ahead and snap right in. Just keep jiggling it around and give it a shot. If a 12-year-old can do it, you can too. Now the second pad has this thing. That's a wear indicator. You want that in the down position because, as the name implies, it will let you know when the brake pads wear down and need to be replaced. Now we're going to go ahead and reinstall the caliper by grabbing a 5-inch C-clamp and a piece of wood that you've cut to size so it'll fit over the caliper piston. Now if you recall, we removed the cover of the brake fluid reservoir. Now we didn't remove it completely, but we opened it so that you have the ability to squeeze that piston back into place. If you don't do this step, the piston isn't going to move. You'll be squeezing and yelling at yourself because it's not going anywhere. So don't forget that. Now once you get that piston back into position, the wood will look like this, nice and flat. And then you're going to go ahead and just remove everything and move to the next step. Now we're going to go ahead and replace the caliper by placing it right back into the caliper retaining bracket and bolting it back in place using the 2 bolts that we removed earlier. And we're almost done. Okay, now that the brakes are all together, calipers on, we're going to go ahead and put the tire back onto the lug nuts and tighten this puppy down. Now, my son is having a little bit of trouble here. He says the tire is too heavy, but he's a big boy. He'll get this worked out. Man, we're almost done. All we got to do now that the tire's on the lugs is go ahead and get the bolts back on, tighten the bolts down, and get this puppy going. Now this is my favorite part because my son really struggles here. Maybe you'll enjoy this, and let's see how long it takes him. Alright, now that the bolts are tightened, all that's left to do is lower the car and we're done. Hey, overall, for being 12 years old and never having done a brake job before, I think my son did a really good job. In any case, I had a lot of fun doing this with him. I hope in the process of teaching him, we also taught you. Hey everybody, thanks for watching. If you found these tips helpful, give us a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe for more tips and tricks here at WoodandStuff. See you next time.